In response to a request received to share the joyful stories of these saints, we will listen to these from time to time. Today, we will listen to Tulsidas' story and ponder what we can learn from his life. The reference is the English translation of Bhakta Vijaya, which was written more than 200 years ago. It includes rich poetic imagery that thrill the heart. A brief note first. Tulsidas was born in the 17th century from 1511 to 1623. Known as Goswami Tulsidas, he was one of the most famous Hindu saints and poets, renowned for his devotion to Sri Rama. He wrote several popular works in Sanskrit, Hindi, and Awadhi, but is best known as the author of the epic Ramcharitmanas, a retelling of the Sanskrit Ramayana based on Sri Rama's life. In the regional Awadhi language, he is also known as the author of Hanuman Chalisa. Tulsidas spent most of his life in the city of Varanasi, particularly the Tulsi Ghat on the banks of the Ganga. In fact, it is named after him. I've had the fortune of visiting his house, gazing at the Ganga just as Goswami Tulsidas might have, reveling in Sri Rama. Tulsidas also is known to have started the Ramlila plays, a folk theatre adaptation of the Ramayana across India. The section from Bhakta Vijaya written by Mahipati on Tulsidas follows. Jai Ho, victory, victory to the lover of bhaktas, root of all joy, the Supreme Being, Satchidananda, worthy of worship of the world, beautiful in his dark features. Victory to him who lives near the banks of the Bhima, giver of the promise to Pundalika. In the Kali Yuga, there were many God-loving bhaktas, devotees. I will describe their exceedingly delightful stories as you make me relate them. About Tulsidas, please listen. While Narayana was reclining on the serpent Adishesha in the sea of milk, some of his bhaktas arrived. Valmiki, Dhruva, Prahlada, Narada came near him to pay their reverence to the Lord of the Bhaktas. Narayana said to Valmiki, in the Kali Yuga, the papas have become intolerable. I wish you to become an avatara amongst mortals and give them moksha. The Ramayana which you composed, in which you sang my name, my goodness, and good deeds, was in the Sanskrit language, while the ignorant people of Kali Yuga do not understand it. So become an avatara amongst mortals, teach them to worship me. Valmiki, hearing him, did namaskara and said, in the northern country, in the city of Hastinapura, in the house of a Kanoja Brahmin, Rishi Valmiki became a voluntary avatara. The Brahmin bore the name of Atmarama. He became a person devoted to dharma. Akbar was a king at that time and he was in the service of Akbar. It was in his family that Valmiki became an avatara. The good Brahmin Atmarama performed rituals of birth and naming of his son. He was named Tulsidas. Day by day he grew in stature. His parents invested him with the sacred thread, and he was kept as a brahmachari for 12 years. He daily performed his rituals, prayers, and devotion. They made him study the Vedas according to the prescribed rules. After searching for a bride for him, his marriage took place. And as his childhood passed and he became a young man, the two were united in love. But Tulsidas could not endure being without his wife. The name of Tulsidas's wife was Ratnavali or Mamata. It happened one day that King Akbar was going on a tour. Tulsidas immediately joined him and went with him. Just then, a messenger arrived from her mother's home, asking her to come there. Ratnavali replied to them, "My husband has gone on a royal tour. In the meantime, I shall go to my mother's place. Having visited her, I will immediately return." That very day by evening, Tulsidas returned. He questioned his mother and learnt all the news, and he said, "My dear one, why have you left me and gone away?" So he started at once, and by walking 10 miles that night, he arrived at the house of his father in law. It was late night, and all the doors were closed. Tulsidas looked around him. Just then, he saw a great poisonous serpent hanging down from above. He seized it with his hand and ascended to the upper story. Ratnavali, that beautiful woman, awoke just at that moment. Seeing her husband there, she arose astonished. The husband said, "My beautiful one, why did you leave me and come here?" Ratnavali replied, "The Yamuna river is flooded. I cannot understand how you were able to enter the house." Tulsidas replied, "Your love for me is so great that you threw a rope from above and I crossed, holding on to it." The dutiful wife, hearing this, replied, "Why do you speak an untruth? I never threw a rope from the upper story." As she did not know what was true or false, she said, "Show me the rope." Taking the servant with her and lighting a lamp, they looked for it. And just then they saw this great, enormous serpent hanging down from above. All were frightened. It seemed so strange. Holding her husband by the hand, the wife entered the house and said to her husband, "Lord of my life, listen to me. You call yourself wise and clever, but you have no common sense. You were always intoxicated with your own ignorance. Why did you leave your mother, father, brother, and friends, your wealth and property, and come for me at such a time of the night? If this great serpent had bitten you, you would have lost your life. O Lord of my life, you know nothing about the transitory concerns of this life. With desire to see me, you came rushing by night. Many have lost their lives in running after women. Not recognizing God in their hearts, they seek to satisfy sensual desire. They do not recognize Sri Rama, who is the place of rest for everyone." To these words of Ratnavali, Tulsidas experienced a change of heart. "What you say, O mother, is true," and as he said that, he bowed to his wife. When a child puts out its hand to grasp a live ember of burning wood, the mother at once protects it. So today you have done me a great favor." Speaking thus to her, he immediately remembered all that he had done in his former birth. He said, "I am Valmiki. I have become an avatara in this world of mortals, so that I may teach with my lips the story of Sri Rama, and that I may turn men to devotion to him. I was entangled in the enjoyment of temporary sensual pleasures." With this change of heart, he came to Anandavan, which is Varanasi. After bathing in the Panchaganga, he adopted severe austerities. He rejected cooked food and fruits, and he lived on fallen leaves. After bathing in the early morning, he was accustomed to pray to Sri Rama. He used to say, "O dweller of Ayodhya, O husband of Janaki, show me the manifestation of yourself." Then it happened one day that Tulsidas went into the forest to wash himself. The water that remained in his vessel he poured upon the roots of the tree. Suddenly he saw a most terrifying asura. His two hands were joined together as he stood before Tulsidas, and he said, "I am pleased with you. Whatever blessing you may ask, I will give it to you." Tulsidas said to him, Tell me who you are and why you have become pleased with me. I do not understand why. The Asura replied, I am an Asura. I have been here for a long time. I drink the water which you pour on the roads. We do not have permission to drink water from wells, tanks, rivers, or the sea, so I am very thirsty. You have supplied me with water for these 12 years. I will give you whatever you ask for. So Tulsidas said to him, You have become pleased with me. You see, I have no further desire in my heart. Then you should help me meet Sri Rama. As the name of Rama was heard by the Asura, he stepped back and said, If I should repeat his name by my lips, it will mean my destruction. If you really wish to meet him, Maruti, also known as Hanuman, is his servant. I can cause him to manifest himself to you. Tulsidas replied, if Maruti shows him to me at once, he will fulfill my desire. The Asura said, You are constantly listening to the Puranas. An aged Brahmin is accustomed to come there. It is he who is Maruti. If you ask who he is, I will tell you how he may be recognized. He comes and sits before anyone else. He leaves after everyone has gone. He has a staff in his hand and a cap on his head. He wears an old garment and a loin cloth. If you see a form like that, you will know that he is the head of the monkeys. Thus speaking, the Asura became invisible and Tulsidas returned to his hermitage. The next day, after taking his bath and repeating God's name as usual, he rushed to go where the Purana was being read. When suddenly an aged Brahmin appeared and seated himself there, Tulsidas saw that his appearance was just as described by the Asura. After the reading of the Purana was finished and all the listeners had gone, the Brahmin started to go. Tulsidas followed him. When he got outside the city, Hanuman was going very rapidly. Seeing himself all alone with him, he held the Brahmin by his feet and said, Swami, have compassion on me. You are Maruti. The Brahmin said to him, Who are you? Why have you held my feet? I am just a poor, helpless person. Tulsidas replied to him, I know you are Maruti, the Bhakta of Sri Rama. Thus speaking, he again fell at his feet. Maruti thought to himself, He is Valmiki who has descended as an avatara. He at once gave him an embrace. Thus expressing his love, Maruti said to Tulsidas, I am pleased with you. The other replied, My mind desires a gift by your favor. I want you to make it possible that I have a manifestation of Sri Rama. Hanuman said, After being invisible, I will do so. Maruti then spoke to Sri Rama, Listen to my request. Tulsidas is a full avatara of Valmiki. Please give him a vision of yourself. This is my desire. Please complete the wish of my heart, O Swami. Hearing Maruti's words, Sri Rama replied, I will do so. He called together all the monkeys and took the army with him. The holder of the bow, Rama, passed in front of the hermitage of Tulsidas, but he did not recognize him. Tulsidas said, Oh, some Mohammedans, that is Muslims, are passing by. The monkeys seemed heroic, and Sri Rama seemed to be the king of the Mohammedans. Seeing them, Tulsidas made a namaskar. After that, Maruti came to the hermitage of Tulsidas and said to him, See, Rama has fulfilled your desire. Tulsidas replied, O Maruti, I have not met Sri Rama. Maruti replied, Why? He just passed by your hermitage. Tulsidas said, Oh, the one who passed by my hermitage was truly a Mohammedan. I did not see Rama. My desire still remains unfulfilled. When Maruti heard him say this, he smiled and said, Sri Rama will fulfill the desire of your heart. Saying this, Maruti became invisible, and bringing the image of Sri Rama into his imagination, he began his loving praise. Jai Ho, O dweller of Ayodhya, slayer of Ravana, holder of the bow, purifier of the fallen, savior of the humble, slayer of the asuras, O Sri Rama. Sri Rama replied, Maruti, why this special praise today? What is the special desire of your heart that you have begun this loving praise? Maruti replied to Sri Rama, You who are the wish tree or the kalpataru of the desires of the bhaktas, you who are visible from afar like a thick cloud, I desire that you may visit Tulsidas. Hearing Maruti's request, Rama said, How can he have a direct vision of me in this Kali Yuga? Maruti replied, O Lord of the heart, he is an avatara of Rishi Valmiki. It was you who gave the command that he should turn men to your worship. Hearing this remark of Maruti, Rama said, Okay, I will listen to your request. I never break my word. So Sri Rama with Sita and Lakshmana, taking the form of visible avatars, walked along with Maruti. Maruti went forward and informed Tulsidas, saying, Sri Rama will today fulfill your heart's desire. Hearing Maruti's remark, Tulsidas was full of joy. Just then, he saw before him the Lord of Ayodhya. His glories were without limit. A brilliant crown adorned his head. He wore a yellow garment. His complexion was that of a dark cloud. In his hand was a bow and arrow. In this form, he saw Sri Rama. With deep reverence, Tulsidas bowed on the ground, and the merciful Sri Rama embraced his Bhakta Tulsidas. Maruti said to Rama, Place your hand on his head. Rama listened to this request and gave Tulsidas the blessing of his assurance. After this, all the inhabitants of Varanasi listened to his discourses in the praise of God, and they built a hermitage for Tulsidas. His reputation became great amongst the people. They brought him unlimited amounts of money, gold plates, and an unlimited amount of silver. Some he gave, and some they took away. Some criticized him, and some praised him. But Tulsidas was untouched by them. He had neither joy nor sorrow. Just as in the heavens, the three seasons have their beginning, yet space is free from the fault of association with them. Then one day, two thieves consider the situation carefully. We see that there is no one in the hermitage of Tulsidas who will refuse us admission. We can go there without fear and take away a bunch of golden plates. Let's try and take away as much as our hands are able to carry. So after the kirtan was over, all of the participants went to sleep. Just then, the two thieves came to steal. They gathered the golden plates with their hands and tied them in bundles. The sun now arose, and all the bhaktas also woke up. Tulsidas came out of his hermitage. Just then, the two thieves came and fell at his feet. The thieves with emotion said to him, Forgive us our fault. Tulsidas asked them, Who are you? They said, We are thieves. We came to rob you. But there were soldiers of the Lord seated at the gate, and they would not let us pass. We had made a bundle of your golden plates and were waiting in your hermitage. We are at fault. You are a bhakta of Sri Rama, supremely generous at night so as to leave your door open. Therefore, we thieves came in without fear. Tulsidas had many disciples, and so he asked them, Who was at the gate protecting us? Why have you placed there without my knowledge? The disciples replied after taking an oath, we swear by your feet that we do not know who is guarding the door. The thieves replied, his face was brilliant. He wore a crown and ornaments. He was dressed in a yellow robe. His complexion was dark. He is seated there even now. All were astonished, and coming nearer to the gate, they looked and saw nothing, and found it to be very strange. Tears came to the lotus eyes of Tulsidas. He said to himself, Rama and Lakshmana have now become my doorkeepers. At this time, what I could not obtain by adopting the severest yogasanas, what visits to tirthas could not give me, I now have as my doorkeeper Rama, the dweller of Ayodhya, husband of Sita, who does not require a second to accomplish his purpose, whose determination was as he promised. He was the slayer of Ravana. Sri Rama has become my doorkeeper? He then exclaimed, Jai Sri Ram, Jai Sri Ram, victory to the Supreme Being, the generous one, the friend of the blue-necked Shiva, the savior of the world. Rama exists. You who are the husband of Lakshmi, supremely generous. Tulsidas then said to the thieves, whatever your heart desires, take it away to your homes. Do not hesitate. When they heard him say this, the thieves fell at his feet. They cried out, have mercy on us and place your reassuring hand upon us. We have made a mistake. We were encircled by ignorance. By the power of association with you, we have seen a manifestation of the natural virtue. Hearing him say this, the thieves did a namaskara and decided that their minds should constantly remain in Tulsidas's hermitage. So these thieves who had been given to adharma became good when they began to listen to the praises of Bhagwan constantly and to repeat his names. All the inhabitants of Varanasi sang the praise of Tulsidas. They exclaimed, blessed is this Vaishnava. He is a complete savior for us dull-minded people. King Akbar was at Delhi when somebody informed him. He called his wise ministers and said, I want you to bring about a meeting with Tulsidas. He took some wise and clever speakers along with some of the army and arrived at Varanasi, coming to the hermitage of Tulsidas. The news was conveyed to Tulsidas that the king had called him. They said, the king has heard of you as an ardent, God-loving Vaishnava Bhakta. The king has sent us because of his desire to see you. Hearing this request, Tulsidas thought to himself, I must turn all the inhabitants of that country to repeating God's name. If the noble Vaishnavas are free from selfish desire, why should they wander from country to country? Tulsidas, the God-loving Bhakta, at once started enthusiastically repeating the names of Hari. He quickly arrived at Delhi. The king came forward and fell at his feet. The king then seated Tulsidas on his throne. The king said to Tulsidas, I have heard of your wonderful powers and you are like Bhagwan. I do not understand your power. Tulsidas said to him, it is all the doing of Sri Rama. I am but a helpless person who has placed his heart at the feet of Sri Rama. Hearing this, the king said to him, allow me to meet Sri Rama. If you do not do so, I shall not allow you to go from here. Thus speaking, the king went into the palace. He said, if you show me a manifestation of Sri Rama, only then I can regard Tulsidas as a noble Vaishnava. Hearing them say this, he began to praise Maruti. And Maruti or Hanuman at once came and met Tulsidas. Tulsidas said, I am in extreme distress and therefore I have thought of you. Now please remove this distress and increase the glory of names of God. Maruti then performed a wonderful miracle. He called together his army of monkeys. Many mighty heroes started leaving from Swarga, that is heaven. The monkeys bowed to Maruti and said to him, "Please tell us what your command is." Maruti replied to them, "I have called you together in order that you may show to the king some of your natural characteristics." As soon as they received this command, the monkeys became full of mischief. They climbed on the roofs and began to destroy the tiles. They pulled up the trees by the roots and threw them at men. There was a great alarm felt in Delhi and a great outcry. The servants of the king hastened to inform him of what was taking place. They said to Akbar, "An army of monkeys has arrived and they are destroying everything." There were some wise men present who said to the king, "Tulsidas is a Vaishnava. You should not persecute him. If the monkeys increase in their anger, they will turn the whole city of Delhi upside down." The king thought that all of this was remarkable and confessed that he had committed a great fault. Then he came to Tulsidas, and there, joining his hands palm to palm, he stood before him. King Akbar said, "O Bhakta of Vishnu, please restrain this army of monkeys. I persecuted you because in ignorance I did not know what I was doing." During this pity arousing request, Tulsidas said to him, "You were wishing to see Sri Rama. It is his army that has arrived, just as when the sun rises at dawn and its light spreads all over the world. So this great hero has come with an advanced guard. Looking on produces desire, and meditation produces devotion. Listening and a direct vision of Bhagwan produces in one a desire to know more of him. So the monkeys are arriving first, and Sri Rama is following them. I have already seen enough of Rama." So saying, he grasped him by his feet and said, "I do not understand his power." Hearing the king's pity arousing request, the monkey army became invisible, and all men worshipped the feet of Tulsidas. Tulsidas remained there for a year. To great luck, he daily sang the praises of the extraordinary deeds in Sri Rama's life. All the inhabitants in Delhi began to constantly repeat the names of Bhagwan, and the ignorant became wise through association with him. Tulsidas now took leave of and went to worship Sri Krishna at Mathura. At first, he came to Gokula and bathed by the bank of the Yamuna river. There was a Brahmin citizen by the name of Priyadasa. Bhakti, knowledge, and Vairagya, indifference to worldly things, were his characteristics. This Priyadasa wrote a book in Sanskrit describing the extraordinary deeds of bhaktas of Vishnu in this Kali Yuga. Tulsidas had heard that he had written this book containing the stories of saints. So on a certain occasion he came to visit Priyadasa. He said, "O Swami, you have written the stories of saints. I haven't listened to them. Could you please bring me the book and show it to me?" Priyadasa replied, "I have described the bhaktas belonging to the 4 yugas, but I have not written in this book the noble story of Tulsidas." Just then a wonderful thing happened. Unknown to Priyadasa, none other than Bhagwan Sri Rama came there and with his own hands wrote the story of Tulsidas. All the Vaishnavas admired the book that was written by Priyadasa. It was Tulsidas who said to him that it was Sri Hari who spoke through his lips. Hearing this remark made by Tulsidas, Priyadasa said to him, "Sri Rama came and wrote the whole history of Tulsidas." Thus, the beloved of Sri Rama, the full avatar of Valmiki, had his story recorded by Sri Rama's own hands. It is God Himself who is describing the life of Tulsidas. Listen to it, therefore, with reverence. So, what can we take away from learning about Tulsidas's life? 1. Repeating Bhagwan's names in japa and spending time in prayer or meditation daily, just as Tulsidas did through his 12-year tapas austerities. Not getting obsessed with sensual pleasures and material desires, recognizing them as a part of the bigger picture of life, as cautioned by Tulsidas's wife. Seeing Bhagwan in all people and situations, like Tulsidas saw Sri Rama even in unexpected encounters. 4. Practicing dhanam, generosity, as exemplified by Tulsidas sharing food and teachings freely. Doing so makes us happy and benefits others too. 5. Standing up for dharma when Akbar tried to persecute Tulsidas. Acknowledging grace of Bhagwan in all situations and saying it was all due to the power of Sri Rama. Spreading love and wisdom for Sri Rama. When Tulsidas travelled widely teaching people about Bhagwan and his glories, he did it out of his love and devotion and not as a profession different from his personal life. Many people discovered a devotion for Sri Rama, started repeating Bhagwan's names due to his teachings, and were blessed. Love for Sri Rama continues to grow to this day, more than 250 years later. Jai Hanuman, Jai Sri Ram.